I'm sure you heard the back feed. But
Yeah,
so when I welcome, I want to welcome everybody to the Junior Golf Podcast. We have a special guest on the podcast tonight, none other than Sade Weeks. She's known as the Scholarship Junkie. Sade, how you doing tonight?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me, Ro. I'm excited.
Hey, thank you for willing to come on. I've been following you for quite a while now. You've got a great following on social media, and you've helped. I'm sure you've helped thousands and thousands and thousands of people. So we appreciate all you do at the Scholarship Junkie social media platform. Appreciate all you do.
Thank you so much. That's
All
really
right,
nice to
so
hear.
yeah, so before we get into all the questions and given the history of everything, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, of course. So I actually started my journey in college because I was very interested in making content in general. I just really wanted to make content. I had a failed budgeting page. A lot of people don't know that. I used to try to teach people how to budget. It was failed miserably, but that's how I got started in content creation. And I actually decided that I wanted to create content, but I didn't know about what. And then obviously you know what I ended up and landed on. But the reason I was super interested in personal finance in general is because I myself it came from a low income background, and in order to pay for college, I really needed to be better at personal finance, and so I taught myself a lot, and that really pushed me to wanting to spread that knowledge. And I realized somewhere along the journey that I actually was really everything I was able to do financially was because of scholarships. So it was like that was the root cause. I got my degrees, all my degrees in accounting. So I was already naturally interested in accounting in the business world. And even today, I'm a certified public accountant. That's my trade profession. So I definitely learned a lot about business and accounting in general when I was in school, but a lot of that also made you interested in personal finance and finance in general. So that was where my background came from. Is like low income student. How do I pay for college? How do I how do I get a job and all the other great things? And that was like kind of how I got started with this stuff. But in terms of just who I am as a person, I love stuff like this. I love helping. I've always liked teaching. I've always liked tutoring. I was a tutor for a long time in high school and in college. So that's kind of where I get the bug to kind of teach. And, the Scholarship Collective, my social media platforms, that allows me to teach everybody everything. So it's a very exciting venture for me.
That is awesome. That is awesome. And like I said, you've done some great things out there already. So what gave you the bug to start helping families with scholarships?
So I think honestly, it started when my friend was like, I was in the school newspaper because I had won a
Okay.
scholarship, one of the many scholarships I won while I was in college,
Okay.
and she was like, "Oh, that's so cool! Like, I'm happy for you. How did you even find the scholarship?" And I started telling her all about what I did and how I found it and everything, and she was like, "Didn't you say you wanted to make content? Why don't you make content about that?" And I was like, you got a good point. So I started putting out content right after I graduated college. I had nothing to do until I started my full time job. So I literally was posting every single day on TikTok, social media, every single day. All the things I did to win $200,000 in scholarships. And eventually, lots of people caught on, and a lot of people needed help. And I was only one person. So I wanted to create a resource and a platform that lots of people can use that, oh, not just one on one, but a lot of people could use at the same time. And that's where the Scholarship Collective was born, which is my free newsletter that I post every week. So that's kind of how it started, was just genuine desire for content, genuine desire to teach what I know. And then it kind of turned into the Scholarship Junkie. I still don't know where I got that name from to this day. So
Sorry, it's a catchy name. There's nothing wrong with it at all. It's
appreciate it.
awesome. Now, when did you notice your social media presence explode? Like, did you see when it like caught fire?
Yeah, I mean, I guess my first viral video came like 2 months after I started posting content.
Okay.
I so basically so many people were asking me, "Oh my gosh, like where do I find a scholarship for um science, or where do I find a scholarship for arts? I'm an art major, this and that." And I was like, "Oh my God, so many people asking for different things. Why don't I just create a list, like a list with all these scholarships people are asking me to find?" So that's what I did. I started with just a simple Google sheet. I still have that sheet to this day.
Yeah.
It's called my free scholarship list, and there's it started off with just a few dozen scholarships of people asking me, but then one day I said, "Hey guys, like I can't look at every single comment, but if you want me to look for scholarships for you, send me an email." And then download my free scholarship list and I'll update it and put it in there. And that video blew up. Like
Yeah.
that one video, I got over 10,000 followers from that one video.
Okay.
And then yeah,
I'm
and
gonna
then
have to get
over
some tips for
10,000 people.
I have to get some tips from you offline, but go ahead. Go ahead.
But yeah, so I went from 2,000 followers to 19,000 followers in a span of 2 weeks because of that video. It got millions of views. And then on top of that, I ended up with because I had my free scholarship list where people had to download it. So they had to give me their email.
Okay.
So I had over 10,000 people also end up giving me their email for the list. And then I had no idea what I was doing with these emails, but I was like, well, if I have all these people's emails, I'm going to try to send out regular content to them other than
Yeah.
videos, actually sending out tips and tricks and different scholarship opportunities every week. And that's how I ended up with the scholarship collective. Is I had emails before I had a newsletter. I had a newsletter before I had a website. I didn't have a website for a whole year.
Right. I've been to the website. It's very nice. It's organized and it lists, of course, to list all
It
the
wasn't
stuff.
always like that.
It wasn't like it's like so it took some time. So you
Very
really,
much.
and I know we got to get into the scholarships, but you really put together like a real organized, like different departments. You got newsletter, you got website, you got social media. I don't know what else. Podcast. No, I'm just telling you. I'm telling you. All right, so let's get right into it. So, what would you say, Sade, is the first step that a person should take when they're looking for scholarships for their children?
So I think the first thing that you're in this process, you're completely new, you know nothing. I think before you can get into the websites, before you can get into the nitty gritty, I think you need to sit down and figure out what is you and your child, like you if you're the student and your child if you're the parent, what is y'all's unique advantage, right? Like what is it that's different about you that you can use to find scholarships for? So I think people go in a little backwards. They try to just find anything and everything that they're eligible for and then start applying. But really, I think you need to sit down and assess yourself, your strengths, your weaknesses, and focus on the strengths category and start looking for scholarships for that specifically. So, your son, probably did, he did golf and everything. So
Mhm.
obviously sports, that's a great starting point. But there's probably other things about him. He might have other interests that you can also win scholarships for. People who are creative, people who like film, like submit your SAT scores, submit your ACT scores. They're creative based. So there are a lot of different ways that you can use your unique advantages to win scholarships. One of the ones for me is I actually like I told you before, I always wanted to make content, be in front of a camera, that kind of thing. So I actually won a few scholarships just from making a video of myself speaking on screen about some topic that they wanted us to talk about. I didn't need an SAT score, I didn't need my GPA, no transcripts. They just wanted a video about XYZ. One, for example, one of them was for it just happened to be something related to finance and personal finance, which is what I was already doing. And I basically made a video about the 3 ways that I save money. And that one video, I took it, submitted it for the scholarship, and I won a $2,500 scholarship for that from that. And that was a unique advantage that like only I knew I had the desire to do. So that's why I started looking up video-based scholarships. So that's the first thing I say you do. Figure out what your unique advantage is, the thing you like to do, your strengths, and try to find scholarships for that thing
That's
before
good.
you even dive into the websites.
Yeah, and that's good, Sade, because one of the things that I did, like you said, I look for our strengths with, which his was golf, and being that he was going to Howard, I looked for HBCU scholarships. But then, what I found was that I looked for scholarships related to his high school, and
Mm.
like 10 scholarships came up. Then I looked for scholarships for students that went in his district. Another 10 scholarships came up. I was like, dog, I didn't even know about this, but it just the idea just came to my head, and I start finding more and more scholarships. So that's great advice that you just gave.
No, that's great. And what you're talking about, that's state and local scholarships. And
Hmm.
I could talk about that for like an hour. Like you that it really
Yeah,
is where the money is. 50% of the scholarships I won were state and local. So we could talk about that later. But yeah, state and local
yeah,
scholarships, that is the second best thing you can do.
yeah. Okay. Well, I'm sure you'll tell us the third and fourth in just a few minutes. But what are the most important aspects of a application?
So depending on the application, right?
Hmm.
That's going to determine what's the most important factors, right? So, for example, there might be a scholarship where the minimum GPA requirement is like a 2.5 or a 2.8, something low like that. And people who have like a 2.9 or a 3.0 might be like, "Oh, but mine's kind of low. Should I apply to that?" If they're letting you apply with that low of a GPA, that means they want more people to apply. That means that your GPA is not really a big factor. You're not going to get chosen more because of your GPA. The only time you have to worry about that is when you're focusing on merit-based scholarships. And while most scholarships are not strictly merit-based, they're based off of some sort of other factor like an essay. So what I always say is tailoring your application similar to the way you would tailor a resume for a job is really important. The first thing I look at is, what does your essay look like? Is it answering the prompt? Is it really talking to the values of that organization that's offering the scholarship? Most scholarships have an intended purpose. So if you can align your scholarship essay and your scholarship application with the purpose and the mission of the scholarship or the organization, that's going to make you stand out. That's going to be like the most critical piece. So your essay is definitely number one in terms of your critical piece. The second thing is tailoring your application, right? If it has a resume aspect to it, tailoring that to the experiences that they would care about. And the third thing would definitely be, if it requires a recommender, the strength of your recommendations. If it requires a recommender, I know a lot of people don't want to apply to those scholarships, but I'm telling you, you slice the pool in half of the people you're competing against when you need a letter of recommendation, because a lot of people don't want to ask over and over and over again for a recommendation. But I promise you,
Yeah.
the people who you're asking, they want to help you. So that's something to really take into consideration, because I had asked the same professor, the same one, for 12 different recommendations. And every single time she was happy to do it. And she was happy when I won because she was a part of my success. You have to remember that is people want to be a part of your success. So your letters of recommendation, your strength of recommendation is important, and make it easy for them. You know what I mean? Like, make it easy for them. Tell them all the things you do. Don't just expect them to write something out of thin air. Give them the keystone and the template to be able to write great things about you, because they're not going to remember everything you do. So that's definitely a huge component: the essay, the recommenders, and then your overall tailoring of the application.
All right, that's good. Because I'm noticing that a lot of the scholarships now, they're of course, they're asking for the essays. And I love the ones that say no essay, you know what I mean? But a lot, my last my last few ones, they've asked my son to do 2-minute videos. And so you have to, he has a process. He does the 2-minute videos, and then we upload it. But some of them ask for videos, some of them ask for essays, some of them don't ask for essays. So you got so many different components out there. So that's good to know that and of course the letter of recommendations are important too. So what I'm noticing is a lot of the scholarships are asking for 2 letters of recommendations. Is that pretty
Yep.
normal? Okay.
Yeah, that's very normal. Unfortunately, I hate to say it like this, but it's really, really true. there are so many very, very qualified, very special type candidates for every single scholarship.
Right.
So while you may think your resume is amazing and everything you do is so unique, there are hundreds of students that application, extracurriculars, GPA, everything looks exactly the same. So the only way for these judges to be able to differentiate you is your essay, and then what do the people who work with you and talk with you and are part of your life think about you, because you can judge the character of a person really well just by who is hanging around them and who would go out of the way to support them. So I think that that's a big reason that they ask for so many recommenders. Two is normal. I've had ask three, which is a little pushing it, but two is
Mhm.
very, very, very normal. And they do this because it is really hard to differentiate all the top students. Everyone's got a 4.0. Everybody's got a sport. Everybody's a state champion, and all these other things. So like even when you think your resume is really good, like it's not a knock. It's just that it's true. There are thousands of students who look the same every year. There's thousands of students, valedictorians, who get rejected from Harvard every year, right? It's the same concept, right?
Mhm.
The only thing that really makes you stand out is your intention, your motivation, and what they see in you that they don't see in the other students based off of their essays and their recommendations.
That's good. That's good. Now, what are the best online platforms to look for scholarships? Besides,
Yeah,
no,
of
besides
course.
you, you know.
Yeah, besides me, the Scholarship Junkie, and my website, the Scholarship Collective, there are lots of great websites out there. But before I get into the websites, I want to just make something clear that it's important to not only rely on one website. Like you need to be using, I would say, a minimum of three. Don't get
Okay.
overwhelmed, right? Rotate yourself. Use three. Like if you're looking weekly, look at three websites a week, and then the next week go to a different three websites, and then switch back and forth between those websites. Because while you may not be looking on one website, they may post something that's literally perfect for you. And it's not on any of the other websites. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things where make sure that you're using a variety of websites no matter what you do. Don't just use one, not even if it is mine.
Right.
But in
Scholarship
terms,
Collective.
yes, the scholarship collected. But if you in terms of the other websites. So Scholarships 360 is very good, very user friendly, and you don't have to put any information or sign. You don't have to like sign up and put all your information to use it. That's why I think it's a really good website just for that reason, because I know a lot of students are weird about putting their privacy and their information out there. So I totally understand. That's why I like Scholarships 360. They 6 months ago they allowed anyone and everyone to use the platform without having to sign up. So
That's
that's a
great.
great one. And then JLV College Counseling is another good one. It's not as user friendly in terms of being able to search easily, but it is a great website and they're always updating it regularly, especially when there's extended deadlines. If you see anything with an extended deadline, apply to it because
Okay. That
that
means
means
they're looking.
nobody no that means nobody's applying to it. That's the only reason they extend deadlines. That's the
Okay.
only reason.
See, that's a tip right there. And you mentioning some scholarships that I mean, some platforms that I hadn't even looked at.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that's just two. Another one I like to use is Scholaroo. The only con to that one, it is user friendly. It
Okay.
is it is good to use, but sometimes the opportunities are outdated. So just keep in mind that sometimes the opportunities are outdated. They don't update as regularly as JLB College Counseling or Scholarships 360. So that's something to keep in mind. But those are three great websites right there. And as long as you're rotating and using these things on a week to week basis, like it's not imperative that you apply to a scholarship every week, but it's imperative that you're looking actively throughout
Hmm.
the entire year. Because in the time that you're not looking, that 3 week period you decided not to look, one could have opened and closed that was just for you, like literally meant for you. You hit all the criteria. It's looking for your type of student, whether you're a minority or you're interested in a specific chemical engineering, something like that. There's always a scholarship out there. And I found scholarships on at the weirdest times, over Christmas break, whatever. Like that, I found stuff on such weird occasions that I'm just like,
Yeah.
wow, what if I wasn't looking? I would just have never known. And it
Yeah.
sucks, right, to be
Yeah.
doing that. It's tedious, but you don't win $200,000 in scholarships by not trying, right? So
Yeah.
that's where I was coming from. I knew what my goal was and what I needed to pay for school, and so that was something I had to put into my brain, is the mindset of it all. Like, you know, how to stay motivated with your goals.
There you go. And would you recommend bowl at all?
So the thing about Bold is that it's a highly
Educator.
popular,
Yeah,
it's a very, very popular platform.
gotcha.
I don't dislike Bold. I think there's legit opportunities on Bold. It's a great website, it's a great platform, but there are 3, 4 million students on that platform. So keep that in mind when you're thinking about how many students are on this platform. And then
Wow.
on top of that, I've hosted a scholarship on that platform before. So I actually know like what the applicant situation looks like.
Hmm.
And when I had a scholarship open last summer or 2 summers ago, yeah, last summer we did it on my platform. So 2 summers ago, we did our scholarship there. And my scholarship was open to pretty much everybody, but I had 30,000 applications
Wow.
on bolt.org for my one scholarship. I had
Okay.
30,000 applications.
Okay.
So I'm not saying that you can't win on Bolt, but I'm saying
It's tough.
that it's going to be much harder. But this is my tip for you if you do want to use bolt.org.
Hmm.
Number one, the criteria. How much criteria is on the scholarship? If you can say it's for your state, it's for your year, and it's for your specific major, then I think it's worth applying to because there's a lot of criteria you need just to be eligible for it. So that breaks this. If I'm getting $30,000 on a 30, sorry, if I'm getting 30,000 students on a regular application that's kind of open to everybody, then a scholarship like that that's got so many um, limiters and qualifiers is probably only going to get maybe 1,000. So
Okay.
still not that bad, not that bad.
Right.
But you gotta look for those, right? You gotta search by state. I would say this is just my opinion. I would not apply to a bold.org scholarship unless it was state specific. That's
Gotcha.
my general rule of thumb on bold.org.
Okay. Yeah, I ran across a couple of golf scholarships and state scholarships on bowl, and I think they've worked out. Well, we'll see. I mean, a lot of decisions are coming up. But you mentioned
Right.
criteria. You mentioned criteria just now. So the most common criterias are what?
The most common criterias are what's your school year, your academic year? Are you a junior, senior? Are you in college already? That's the number one. There's always going to be
Yeah.
a qualifier for that. Not all scholarships have GPA requirements, but the ones that care about your actual GPA are going to be something a little bit higher, like 3.5
Mhm.
plus. Anything under that, like 3.0, 2.8, they want a lot of people to apply. So just because you see like maybe you're at the edge of an eligibility, that doesn't matter. Like anything that's over 3.5, I would consider that like a merit-based scholarship almost because you have to have such a high GPA. The third most common criteria is definitely if you are some type of minority. So like if you have some ethnic background of your kind or something like that. And then your specific interests. So it might not be like, oh, this specific major, but it might be what are you aspiring to be? Do you want to be a lawyer? Do you want to be a doctor? It might be like a little bit more broad. And then obviously STEM, I'm just putting it out there. STEM is like the most popular qualifier for majors and stuff like that. Just because the real reason is because the government has a vested interest in, investing in the STEM, this in technology and the
Science,
future of
technology.
the students going into technology,
Hmm.
and not just technology but engineering, math. Like they need, as a world power, you need that to propel you forward. So that's why STEM private scholarships specifically, 33% of all scholarships that are private are for STEM students. um, and that's the reason, because
That's
these
good.
these these private entities have a vested interest in pouring money into that specifically.
That's good. Yeah, we got, thank you. I want to thank our listeners for tuning in. We got Sade, the scholarship junkie, giving us a lot of knowledge and helping our juniors and high schoolers with scholarships. And of course I know I got to go back and listen to this because it's going to help me with our scholarships. But what's the best way to maximize a scholarship opportunity to pay for, let's say, all your college expenses, Sade?
Well, so good question. So I think the best way to maximize your aid and all of that stuff is going
Hmm.
to be when if you're in high school, right? It's actually going to be rooted in the school you choose to go to in the first place, right?
Okay.
So a lot of schools, if you, depending on the school, right? There are certain schools that have um, financial aid policies that are more favorable to lower income students versus regular middle class, things like that. So it's very difficult to get a full ride merit based presidential scholarship. Like that's not the norm, right? So the only way outside of scholarships to really increase your aid is going to be to negotiate your financial aid.
Okay.
So I negotiated my financial aid once in my junior year. I didn't
Hmm.
get a ton, but closed mouths don't get fed. My financial aid was supposed to be, I believe, like $3,000 or $4,000, and I requested if I could get $3,000 extra for each semester. I submitted an appeal, and I won the appeal. So that's $6,000 extra I had just that 1 year, and it was because one of my scholarships had only been for one semester, so I wasn't anticipating the other semester it not being there. And so that was like kind of my qualifier as to why I needed the extra money. But basically, if you write a really, really good appeal and negotiation letter, then you have a way better chance at getting extra aid because if the school admitted you, they want you there. So if the only thing that's keeping you from going to a university is money, they might consider upping your financial aid, especially if you have a competing offer at another school. If you say, I really, really want to go to Jacksonville University, but
Hmm.
I can't afford Jacksonville University and University of Monmouth is giving me more. Well, you can say that and use that in your appeal as kind of the persuasion to help get you additional aid. So I think that's a good way to try to maximize your financial aid specifically outside of scholarships. But winning outside scholarships is for everybody. I think that's the thing that people forget. You can negotiate financial aid when you first get into college. That's your biggest chance at getting a large increase. You can do
Okay.
it you can do it semester to semester as well, but don't expect that it's going to be 20, $30,000 worth of aid negotiation, right? We're talking smaller numbers like me, like 3,000,
5,000.
4,000 a semester type of thing.
Okay.
And it's relentless, right? You got to be a little bit relentless to do that. So I think scholarships is a better bet because you're able to control it a little bit more in terms of your ability to apply to them, to stay consistent, to pick the right ones that you have a good chance of winning. You have a little bit more control over your future in in that situation. And another thing is the scholarships in general, they're for high school students, they're for college students, they're for graduate students, they're for everybody versus, some of the financial aid negotiation, the big increases you're going to get are in high school. So, if you have a more of a cap compared to the other types of ways you could increase your aid and maximize your aid.
Well, I think you just dropped a major nugget talking about the appeal of financial aid. I don't think most people know that they can appeal financial aid. So that's going to help a lot
Yes.
of people complete the process of maybe getting in school that they really want to go to. Because they may, my mom, she runs a scholarship organization, and the purpose of her organization is to kind of fill in that gap. If you have a student that's maybe missing 1,000, 2,000, and sometimes that can keep them from completing the
Right.
registration process, her organization kind of fills in those gaps at HBCU. So that's a good tip you just gave. So when you think about scholarships, what are some opportunities out there that people overlook as far as like niche scholarships, Sade?
Yes, so that's a great question. So I think that we kind of touched and foreshadowed on it earlier in the episode, but the state and local scholarships is really where people are missing that extra advantage, right?
Mhm.
Because the thing about state and local scholarships, they're niche because yes, you're going to find state and local scholarships on, Scholarships 360 or some of the other websites I mentioned, but there are scholarship opportunities out there that are not going to hit a regular database because it's too specific, it's too local, it's too niche. It's something that you'll only find on a Facebook group board, or it's only something you're going to find on a community foundation website that's really, really local to you. The big scholarship websites have a vested interest in promoting national brands and national scholarships. So they're not going to spend that the little itty bitty time finding the state and local hyper local opportunities. That's why we have a website called the Scholarships Near Me that does go really deep. We go deep, we find state and local scholarships, and we even have a membership you guys can join to get state and local scholarships that we specifically look for you, your county, the different attributes about yourself, because that's something that other websites are not going to waste their time doing, because it's too hard to tailor it to individual students like that. It's too difficult for them to go hyper local like that. But we search everything. We search Rotary clubs. We search the community foundations. We search every hyper local thing you could think of to find it for our members. So that's the thing that I think you can do yourself. We teach it. We teach you how to do it for free on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Scholarship Junkie. I teach you how to do all of it. But I understand some people are overwhelmed with the process. And that's why we created Scholarships Near Me Plus. That's exactly why. Because people get overwhelmed with the searching process. And this allows you to just open up your database, look in for your state and your academic year, and focus on those scholarships that are already there. If you can't find something that's perfectly for you, you submit a request, we put it in, we start searching, me and my team, we start searching for scholarships specifically for you. And that's how we do it, because we know that it's a difficult thing to do. It's not easy. Our team spends over 30 hours a week alone just on our members and our little group getting scholarships down for you guys. So I know you guys are going to be spending 3, 4, 5 hours a week doing it the same way. So I think that when you focus on state and local scholarships, it's obviously always going to be to your benefit. But the state and local scholarships are a little bit harder to find. So you really got to be comfortable with looking through the 12th page of Google, looking through looking
Right.
through the library websites of your local district in your town. Like, you really got to get really deep in there if you want to look for scholarships that nobody's going to find or no one's thinking about, because unfortunately these organizations, these smaller, they don't know anything about social media, they don't even know anything about SEO, they don't know how to get these opportunities out there. So they post them in the hopes that people apply to them, but a lot of times they don't never get seen. And that basically, it allows scholarships to go unclaimed, and we don't want that, obviously.
Right.
So it's a huge factor going for those state and local scholarships. But on another topic of niche scholarships, think about the weird stuff about yourself only you would freaking know. Like, literally only you would know. I'll
Right.
give you an example. One of the students in my boot camp, her name was Katrina. She was looking for scholarships for something very specific. And I was like, well, give me the story behind it. Like, what's going on? She was like, well, I have this skin condition on my back or whatever. So I go to the dermatologist a lot. Right. And I'm like, okay, you go to the dermatologist a lot. And maybe there is some kind of dermatology, like maybe there's a dermatology office out there who's offering scholarships for telling you about your experience at the dermatology. I don't know. But we started looking, and kid you not, we found the Ortho Dermalogica Scholarship, and they were giving undergraduate scholarships and graduate scholarships. And all you needed to do was tell about a time that you had an experience at a dermatology office, and like that was it. Just telling your story about that. No, no, it was just one essay, no GPA, no transcripts, no nothing. There was like a little under 200 applicants total, and they picked about 12 winners. So that was a pretty low competition scholarship considering only a couple hundred people applied. It had been open for a long time. It had been open for like 6 or 7 months. So to only have 200 applicants is really not that much at all,
Right.
especially since it was broken up between undergraduate and graduate, not just undergraduate.
Right.
But that's just something you would never know. Are you a caregiver at your home? Like, there's different things about yourself that you might not even know there are scholarships out there for. Foster care, lots of things about yourself you might not think about that there's scholarship opportunities out there for.
That that is good. That's good, Sade. And Sade, you talked about something a few minutes ago, which is your member base scholarships to kind of help people find scholarships. Can you talk about that a little bit and the costs associated with that?
Yes, of course. So, Scholarships Near Me is a free database that we have at scholarshipsnearme.com. but
Okay.
it's about 3 or 400 opportunities that's totally free. And then we have the rest of the database, which is over 1,000. Well, now it's a little bit over 1,500 scholarships since we launched in November. It's a little bit over 1,500 scholarships. And we focus on finding scholarships for the students who sign up. So, for example, if you are from North Carolina, we don't have that many North Carolina students in our program right now.
Okay.
But whenever someone joins and they say and note that they're not from Carolina, we start searching a little bit more for that specific state.
That's great.
So, some of the more popular states are the bigger states, obviously, right?
Hmm.
California, New York, Texas, Delaware, all that good stuff. And it's a subscription based model. Your first month is only $5. And then after the first month, it's $10 a month. So we try to make it as affordable as possible because we know that you guys are going to be looking for the next 6 months, 7 months of school. And even if you just win one scholarship, it'll pay for itself.
You
A
you don't
hundred
you,
percent, it'll pay for
listen.
itself.
You took the words right out of my mouth because one of the things that we as parents have to understand is by us paying $5 or $10 a month for 8, 10 months or whatever to get a scholarship or scholarships that's going to save us thousands and thousands and
Right,
thousands. We got to look at that as a big time and
right.
that a big return on our investment. You probably can expand on that a little bit more.
Yeah, of course. And I 100% agree.
Yeah,
And I would love to give away the services for free. I really would. But unfortunately, we have employees that we pay that need
right.
to work on this, right? It's a very niche job. This is a very niche job what we do. We're looking for scholarships for individual students at the most micro level that you could even think about. So, I would love to give it for free, but at the same time, I know the value that we bring. We've had lots of success stories and we've only done this part for three. We only had this membership for 3 or so months and we've had so much success already. So I just know that this is a service that's worth paying for. I always say this, I would never charge you for something that wasn't worth the money. I always say that. And maybe it's time will tell people whether they sign up or not. It's an investment in yourself. And just to be clear, I've invested in myself too. So when I was in college, I had a couple of professional organizations that I really wanted to join, but I was like not sure if I should pay the membership fee. Like, is it worth it? Whatever.
Mhm.
So there was this one organization called NABA, and this organization was basically a business organization for Black students who were interested in accounting. And I was like, it's $35. It was $35. $35 doesn't sound like it's a whole for a whole year. It wasn't even $35 a month. It was
Right.
th- it was $35 a year, and I was
Yeah.
still very hesitant to pay that money. So I understand the hesitancy that comes with like, oh, $10 a month, that's a lot. I thought the same thing when I wanted to pay $35 for this organization. But I said, you know what? I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna pay it, and hopefully, I get something out of it. Do you know
Hmm.
what I got out of this organization? I got over
But
$20,000 in scholarships out of this one organization.
wow.
I ended up with 3 full-time job offers from my connections in this professional organization.
Yeah.
And I always say that's the best $35 I ever spent in my life because I changed my life by investing in myself. So
Great.
that's the for anyone who's like hesitant about something like this, I really think investing in yourself, if you just do it with this, it's not just going to be this. You're going to start to do it in other areas too. And that's what I ended up doing. The amount of internship opportunities I got from being in this organization paid for itself. Well, way paid for itself. Just the internships I got from being able to network with these people, and they knew people who knew people who knew people who could get me a job
Man.
at certain places. So, you
Yeah.
know, I always say don't overthink it. If
Yeah.
it could be good for you, it just might be. So
Yes.
do it.
That's true. That's true. And Sade, as we could talk scholarships all night long.
We really
But
could.
I know, but if we, as we bring this thing to a close, um, what would be your final thoughts, before, because I want you to thank some people in your circle and whatnot and let us know how we can find you. But what would be your final thoughts as you talk about, as far as scholarships, as far as parents and students, what would be your final thoughts to just to kind of bring everything home?
I think my final thoughts would be if you really want to do something, you will. And the thing about scholarships that is the most controversial is really that there's no guarantee, right? That's like the thing that gets thrown in the air. So, in terms of no guarantee, I can tell you for a fact there's no guarantee that you win a scholarship if you don't apply consistently.
Got
I can tell you that for a
it.
fact.
Right,
I can
right.
tell you that for a fact. So the people who tell me they've applied to, this many scholarships over 2, 3 months, I'm like, talk to me when you've been at a year. Talk to me when you've been at 13 months. Because I didn't win my first scholarship until I was 14 months into the process.
Wow.
14 months into the process.
Gotcha.
So if you win in your first 6 months, consider yourself lucky, is what I'm
Okay.
trying to say. And most of that goes from not having a real strategy. A lot of families apply to as many as they can without thinking about, is this scholarship, am I actually, is the time spent on the scholarship actually going to do anything for me? Am I the ideal candidate for this scholarship? So I would rather see somebody apply to, let's just call it, 5 or 6 scholarships every single month for the entire month and year of 2025 than
Okay.
I would if for them to apply to 100 scholarships in March and then stop applying for the rest of the year.
Oh, wow.
I much rather you apply to scholarships consistently, because when you only apply in March, then
Hmm.
you're limited to only what's open in
In March.
March,
Right.
and that's the problem. So
Okay.
it has to be consistent, and it has to be with a actual strategy. So that would be the last thing. If you get nothing else out of this, have a strategy when you're
Yeah.
going about your scholarship process, because that guarantees that you at least have a better chance at winning.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Consistency is the key, right?
Absolutely.
Good, good, good. Now, who do you want to thank, Sade? Your team, anybody that inspired you. Who do you want to close
Yeah.
out by thanking?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So always, first and foremost, I always thank my mother as, the person to give me the confidence to do what I do. And, people say, oh, Shana, you're so confident. You're so well spoken and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, my mom makes me
Hmm.
confident. She's the type of
Right.
person who breathes life into you. And that's what I try to do to other people as a result. So I'm just trying to breathe life into other people when I do this. I absolutely want to thank my team, Manny, Karen, Giselle, my assistant. She's such a trooper. She does so much. She does so much. She's a
She
great,
does.
great
She
addition to
does.
the team. She does so much, and
Shout out to
I'm very.
Giselle.
Giselle is great. She does so
Right.
much.
Yeah.
She's running this place as far as I'm concerned. Um,
Yes.
and I think like those 3 people, they've only joined my team like a year ago, but I feel like we're family already, and because we do so much together, we help students together. And when you like
Good.
get that message, like, oh, I won this scholarship, that scholarship, it's like Christmas. It's like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. I'm so happy for you. And like we can all celebrate for the students that are winning these scholarships as a result of us helping them. So it really is rewarding. And, so I thank my audience first and foremost. I wouldn't be able to run the scholarship collective. I wouldn't be able to do any of this stuff without the support, the likes, the shares of the students and families who follow me all across the world.
That's right. That's right. Because I know we do. I think I'm gonna sign. I didn't know about the extra membership, so I'm gonna sign John up for that tonight. Okay. So we appreciate it. So how can our listeners follow you on all your social media platforms? How can they follow?
Yes, absolutely. So TikTok, my at is scholarship junkie. On Instagram, my at is scholarship.junkie because someone has my username. But
Okay.
I'm the only scholarship junkie that has over 100,000 followers. So you will
Oh,
definitely find me. You will definitely find me. And definitely make sure to check out all of our resources, all of our services, memberships, all that stuff. You can
yeah.
find all of it at thescholarshipcollective.com.
Yeah, right on the website. I've been there, so it's a great website. So again, Sade, thank you so much. I listen. I know you're getting ready to bless some of our family, our what I want to call our family of golfers. Like I said, I've been running this podcast for about 5 years, and I got families all over the
Wow.
country. Yeah, and so and because see when you go in as a golfer, you don't typically get a full scholarship. They give you like maybe a quarter or half, and then you got to fund the rest with maybe or maybe some other scholarships. So I know without a shadow of a doubt you've helped some families tonight. So appreciate you. Okay.
No, thank you so much. And I know exactly what you're saying. I did track. I had a partial scholarship too, so I get it.
You know. All right. Thank you so much.